It is really about the collapse of an ego-constructed life and the painful invitation into authenticity. Farhat begins the film identified with external structures: career, success, financial identity, image, control, future planning. Then everything implodes. In ACIM terms, the ego's stability system fails. That is important because the ego builds identity through externals: what I achieve, what I own, how I appear, what future I can secure. When those structures crack, the mind often experiences it as catastrophe. Yet ACM repeatedly suggests that ego collapse can become a doorway rather than merely a punishment. The bankruptcy in the film is symbolic beyond money. It is existential bankruptcy. His old self-definition no longer works. Then he encounters the retreat environment: yoga, music, slowing down, nature, spontaneity, emotional openness. The film risks becoming cliché at moments, but spiritually the contrast matters. The city business world in the movie reflects the ego's acceleration: constant striving, transactional thinking, anxiety, future orientation. The retreat world represents a different rhythm: presence, feeling, simplicity, connection, self-inquiry. ACIM constantly moves attention from externally driven identity toward inner listening, but the movie wisely avoids making the transition entirely romantic or easy. Lydia is not simply the magical spiritual woman who saves him. That would just be another ego dependency structure. Instead, she functions more like a catalyst destabilizing his old identity. That distinction matters. ACM would say people do not save us through special love. Rather, relationships become classrooms where hidden attachments, fears, defenses, and longings are exposed for healing. One strong ACIM thread in the film is the movement from performance toward sincerity. Farhat initially feels disconnected from himself. He is trying to survive an image-based life. As the story unfolds, there's increasing pressure to stop performing and actually feel: grief, uncertainty, vulnerability, love, fear, aliveness. The ego prefers controlled presentation. Spirit moves through honesty. The film also touches the ACM theme of self-discovery versus self-construction. Modern culture often teaches build yourself. ACM says the deeper self is not manufactured. It is uncovered beneath conditioning. That's why many scenes in the movie feel less about acquiring something and more about peeling layers away. Music plays an important role too. In ACM, true creation extends naturally from joy and joining. In the film, music becomes one of the few spaces where people stop managing themselves and become emotionally transparent. Another powerful ACM layer is impermanence. The movie carries a bittersweet feeling underneath its romance. Love here is intertwined with fragility, mortality, uncertainty, and change. The ego interprets impermanence as doom. If forms change or end, love is lost. ACIM makes a radical distinction. Forms change, but love itself is not the form. The ego clings to personalities and circumstances. Spirit recognizes the underlying connection beneath temporary appearances. The title itself, Doom of Love, is interesting spiritually. The ego often experiences real love as doom because genuine intimacy threatens the constructed self. Control weakens, defenses soften, image management cracks, vulnerability appears. To the ego, that feels dangerous. ACM would say the ego fears love because love dissolves separation, and separation is the ego's entire foundation. There's also an important caution hidden in films like this. Spiritual aesthetics are not the same as awakening. Retreats, yoga spaces, artistic sensitivity, and living in the moment can still become identity performances. The movie occasionally brushes against that tension too. ACM would keep asking, is peace actually deepening, or is a new self-image merely replacing the old one? By the end, the film seems less interested in giving neat romantic closure and more interested in the soft dismantling of a false life. And that's very ACIM, not how do I perfect the dream character, but what remains when the identities built around fear, ambition, and control begin to fall apart. Sometimes what first feels like doom is actually the beginning of honesty.